think, well, actually, yes. Could you come help me for a sec? I think if you can move that lamp, if you could move that lamp over here by me somehow, there's a plug over there. I just don't have enough light behind me. It's a little dark. Hello, everybody. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I'm late. Hi, Linda. It's such a delight to see you online. I miss you, friend. Thank you. Let's see if we can get that to work. I'm trying to adjust my light a little bit. I'm setting up in a different spot, and I'm hoping that we can make this work. Hello, Kim. Thank you so much for your message. I wish I had a great excuse. Oh, that's so much better. Thank you, honey. Thank you. That's great.
Okay.
But, you know, it's one of those, I've done it before, and I've been so good for so long. Date and time conversions, I'm just super embarrassed to say, but it is what it is, and I'm so sorry. I hope that that extra half hour helped you guys maybe get a snack or a drink or catch up on the session before. The lights, it's still kind of weird, isn't it? Let's see, maybe I can... Does that work? Does that work for you guys? Is the light okay? Would somebody just let me know? Hi, Wanda. Every time I move, I feel like I'm in the way of it. Let's see, how am I going to avoid that? Hey, Brooklyn. Hold on, maybe I can figure it out. No, I think I got it. Thank you. I think I'm good. I'm good. Okay. So hi, Mary Pat. Hello, everybody. I'm excited to play with you today. This is the card that we're making with the Once Upon a Time stamp set, which I absolutely adore. I was so excited when it came back into stock as a crafty comeback. I think I got it, sweetie. Thank you. My timing is perfect. Oh, I'm so glad, Mary Pat. I have this issue with converting Eastern time sometimes. And I was out and about and forgot that today was the 26th. So I just am a mess all the way around. So anyway, I apologize, but this is our card today. It's a fun little flap. It's pretty easy. I'm hoping I can remember how to do it. And it just opens up. We're using a couple of the papers from the kit that I just absolutely adore. I'm going to switch it up a little bit because after I made this one, I didn't really like the green so much. So I'm going to change the colors up just a little bit. So let's go through the pieces and parts that we need. And so obviously your stamp set, right? And we're using Snow White. She is so beautiful. And then I have this time, so with this card, I did a green base, but I switched it to red. I think I want to do red instead. So I have a red A2 card base, just your standard card base. And then I've pre-stamped my Snow White image so that we can color her. So I have a red card base. I have a panel that is, gosh, it's nearly, and if you want to do it a little smaller, you could, but it's about 1/8 of an inch smaller than the card base all the way around. Let me grab to stencil on, let me grab my ruler. So it is, you just want it smaller than your card base, but not by a ton. So it is 4 1/8. Yes, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 is what I have. But again, I think if you did 5 1/4 by 4, just because that's a nice, easy way to trim it, it will work just fine for the stenciling and to put on the card base. I'm glad, Mary Pat. I think this is a fairly easy one. I have a little sample that I had to build to make sure I could make the mechanism work, and I may have to refer to that to refresh my memory because I made this card like over a month ago. So anyway, we need a piece of white to stencil on, and this time I'm going to use Morning Marigold, Kraftin Kimmie Morning Marigold ink. And you know, if you want to switch it up and do blue flowers or red flowers or some other color, please do that. No worries, Kim. Thank you so much. And then instead of the green, I'm going to use blue. And I think I'm going to try Designer Denim and Amazing Azure. I might switch to Bubbly Blue. We'll see how that looks on the leaf portion of the stencil. And I'm using the Pretty Posies stencil for the background. And then, so that's our ink colors. Let's see, other pieces of paper. So from your patterned paper stack, we're using this red and white striped plaid-ish piece of paper, and it's 3 3/4 square. So 3 3/4 square. Hello, Patty. I missed you popping in. Thank you. I hope the blue will be fun, Kim. I just really didn't like the green after I made it. I'm like, don't like it. We're going to try blue. It's whimsical. We're going to have fun with it. And then we also have a piece of the squirrel and acorn paper. And mine is cut to 2 1/2, but I think I'm going to trim it down just a hair. We'll see how that works. By 3 1/4. I need to trim this down a little bit. So 3 1/4 by, I'm probably going to cut this down to like 2 1/4, but we'll see how that fits. I also have a piece of red cardstock that would fit over that. So as you can see, that fits just perfectly. So that it's matted. So just, you know, a hair bigger. I usually go, you know, maybe 1/4 inch all the way around, bigger than the pattern piece, 1/4 inch total on each side, right? Bigger than the patterned piece. And I have the sizes written down to put out in the group later for those of you who are watching that don't have the kits. So this one is, it should be like 2 1/4 if you cut this down to, oh, that's the smaller one, sorry. I don't have this one written down. Okay, so it's a little bit smaller, bigger, sorry. Then we need a square piece of red cardstock, and that one I think is 2 1/4 inches by 2 inches, and a piece of white cardstock to layer over the top of it. So 2 inches by 1 3/4 inches. And that's the piece that's going to go on the inside here with the sentiment. Hi, Carol. And then we have one more piece of paper. Where did it go? We should have one more piece of red cardstock. I might have to grab it for the image to go on top of. Oh no, it's the same one. It just flips. So this red piece of cardstock is going to on one side have the squirrel, right? And on the other side, we're going to put the image, the Snow White image after we color her. So that's going to go on top there. Sorry, I'm a bit discombobulated. I hope you're following me okay. I apologize. That's what happens when you rush in a hurry and are trying to catch up. Let's see, what am I missing? Oh, so this little piece, this piece here, the pulley mechanism piece, that is another piece of cardstock, and I'm using a red again. And this one should be 6 inches long by 2 inches wide. And then we're going to score it at, we're going to do 2 scores. So I'm going to go this direction from the 0, right? So we're going to score it at 2 inches and at 2 1/4 inches. Okay. So when we get there, I'll just slow down so you have a chance to do it. I'm sorry I didn't get the instructions posted. I had been on vacation out of state, got back a couple of days ago, had to jump right back into work, exhausted, did not get everything together, but we're going to be fine, and I'm just going to take it slow because I think I'm the last one of today, and you can always pop in later and we can catch up. So I think let's start with coloring. No, let's start with stenciling. I want to stencil. And then I also have another piece of white cardstock to go on the inside of my card, and we can add a little bit of that as well. So I'm going to start by stenciling, which I don't know, just because I like to stencil, right? And we're going to start this time with I'm going to do the Morning Marigold flowers, which should work well with the Snow White. I'm going to try to move this up a little bit. I want to get as much flowers around the side as possible so that it shows up. Oh, maybe I should turn this, because the panel covers a chunk of the stenciling, right? So I want flowers to show around this panel. And this panel's bigger than the one we're going to make on my card. I realized that I needed it to be a little bit smaller. So you'll see a little more stenciling on your card. So I'm just kind of moving it around a little bit so that I can get the best bang for my buck in terms of the flowers showing around the edges. And I like how this looks. So, and you can also tip it to the side a little bit. Just remember where your writing is on the stencil. So mine is down here, which makes it a little easier when you go to line up your leaf layer. And mine has got some kind of gunk all over it. Oh, I know what it is. I put tape on there so I could cover up the holes for one of my cards for next week. So anyway, I'm going to place it there. I like it there, and I'm just going to tape it down with some tacky tape. And so just kind of move it around to where you like it, where it feels good to you, right? Try not to go super fast so that you guys can kind of catch up with me. I'm going to get in relax mode a little bit here. Have you been having fun with the other classes? I bet you have. I feel really bad because I had every intention of watching the other sessions and had the wrong dang day and the wrong dang time. All right, so honestly, like, I don't know. I want to blame it on a million things, but old age is, I don't want to say I'm old. Okay, fuzzy brained. Let's put it that way. So I grabbed the Morning Marigold because I like, it's, you know, you look at this pad and you say, oh, that's really orange, but it's not. I love the yellowy color of this. I gotta make sure I got the right brush, which looks like I do. I'm gonna wake up my brush a little bit, tap it off, make sure it's woke up before I stab it through there. There we go. I tried to color her a little more vintagey, like not this super bright yellow on her dress. But I'm not really good at that for some reason, like picking the right colors, but I do think it worked out pretty well. I love the vintagey look of things. It's just something that I really have to wrap my brain around. So I'm just giving everything a good coat. I'm giving it initially kind of a light hand, which is really weird for me, let's just say. If you wanted to, you could tape off. Of course, this is too late, but if you're watching it later, you could, you know, put something over the littler flowers and do them, you know, a different color, like maybe a pop of red to go with everything else that's in the papers, or a little bit of pop of pink because the squirrel paper has that. You could do that, but I am just doing everything in yellow. And I, you know, honestly, I don't know why I focused on the middle so much, because you're not going to see it. I think I get in the mode of stenciling, and I loved stencil so much. I find it so relaxing that I just could do it over and over and over for a while. I just absolutely love stenciling. And the inks, the Kimmie inks are so vibrant, beautiful, easy to use, right? So now I'm stopping focusing on the middle, but I'm making sure that I'm getting ink around the bottom. And keep in mind that, you know, we're going to cover this up with a 3 3/4 square on the panel. So just kind of, you know, eyeball where you are. But if you focus on all the outer edges and then some, you should be okay. So next week is National Scrapbooking Day, which I'm super excited because I have a really fun project with the special stamp set. And I am going to make sure I set every alarm. I do it on a Sunday next week, which is great, but I'm gonna have to make sure I set every alarm and whatnot. I've been so good for so long. I'm just really embarrassed, but it is what it is, right? Okay, and you know, a nice thing about stenciling too, I'm sure this is going to be really darker than I thought, but if you go back and forth where you have like some of these crevices and things, you get better coverage too. And you don't have to go darker like I am, but that's how you can get better coverage of color through your stencils. Are so fun. I love our stencils, especially the layering ones. I was one happy person when we came out with the layering ones. All right, I think I have plenty colored this panel with the yellow, and oh my goodness, I think it's so pretty. It's so pretty. All right, I'm going to play around with the blue. I'm going to start with, I'm really debating on whether I should do the bubbly blue, but I'm going to start with the designer Denim because it's a little more, I don't want to say vintagey again, but kind of, right? Let's see how that looks. We'll start with that. If I don't like it, then I can do a different panel. Where did I put my piece? There it is. Okay, so I had my writing on the bottom left corner. I'm going to figure, I had moved it up. Here we go. I can see with the colors through there where my leaves are gonna lie. And I really like that. So it looks like I'm good. I'm gonna tape that down. Maybe. Here we go. And one more up here. Whoopsie. I have gunk all over this stencil. So I really usually like to get 2 of the stencils from Kimmie so that when I use like sticky things or pastes, I can use one stencil always for those because they don't always come off to my satisfaction, right? And then the other just for straight inks, but I haven't gotten another one. So I'm just scraping off a little of the glue from when I taped over the flower centers before, so bear with me for a sec because I don't want to get all that gunk in my brush. And I used rubbing alcohol is great, but it didn't take all the sticky off, so I really needed to use like a Mr. Clean pad. I think I'm okay. I think we're okay. We'll get started with that. All right, so blue brush, not yellow brush. Blue brush, not yellow brush. Okay, I'm going to start with just a light hand, I think. I always say that, and then I end up way darker than I'm planning on, right? Come on, blue ink, wake up. Oh, that's a great idea, Kim, to use a nail brush from the dollar store. That is a fantastic idea. My fingernail's working on some of the glue, but shoot. Yeah, I did not realize that this tape was so very sticky. All right, come on, blue. I think we're ready to rock and roll. Let's see how this looks. I might just lift up the corner over here. I think it's gonna be great, actually. I'm just gonna lift this up and see if I like it. Yes, thanks. Yes, Mary Pat, I think, oh, look at that. Can you guys see that? That's so cool. Oh my gosh, that's so pretty. Ah, I love that. Okay, I'm excited. The trick now is to not let myself get too crazy heavy because I love the shade of this. I think at my last live I talked about my favorite colors within the different Kimmie hybrid ink families, and so like in my greens, my favorites are, my go-tos for the dark green is always the Fresh Fields, and then for grass, and that's usually for like trees, and then for grass I really love the Lucky Limeade, and then for like a pop of brightness I love the charming chartreuse, even though I can't say it correctly. And then my blue favorites are the, well, Salty Sea is one of my favorite light blues. I do love this designer Denim, and then I really gravitate toward the tealy blues, which are like the Ocean Opulence. I love that one a lot. But this designer denim, I just really like that it's kind of a saturated, I don't know, I just love it. I love this color. It's a very versatile blue, I think. Fortunately, my brush, I shouldn't say anything. I'll wait till I'm done and then I'll say it because I don't want to jinx myself. All right, and here I am going over the middle again, which we don't need to do, but I just get in a mode and I have so much fun. Oh, that's so pretty. I really like the blue and the yellow. I think that's going to be super pretty with the reds and with Snow White's dress. So I'm just kind of taking a peek to see where I might want it a little bit more. Yeah, I like that. There's one on the bottom down here that I want to do just a tad darker. I'm gonna have to do and sometimes the back and forth motion doesn't work real well if you have a super fine stencil, so just keep that in mind. Like where there's little sharp bits that you have to, that might catch with the brush. It's your favorite blue also. You thought it was bubbly blue, the one I'm using? Oh, or that my color was bubbly blue. I don't know. I change my favorites sometimes. I'm kind of fickle when it comes to the Kraftin Kimmie things. I'll say, this is my favorite. But I do find that colors, you know, ink colors I gravitate to. But I swear every time there's a new release, it's my new favorite, right? And that's why I am so lucky to be a crafty girl on the crafty team. I'm not going to add the Amazing Azure because I really like, I could add a darker pop of blue in the middle, but I kind of really like the subtleness of the blue. So I think I'm going to let it be. Do I want to let it be or do I want to add a little darker? What do you think? Should we do it? I don't know. I could do it in the middle and see if I like it. I'm going to do that. Undo that. Let's see here. Where was I? See, this is the thing. I don't always follow my own pattern. Let me see. I'm just going to see if I like it or not. Line it back up. I'm going to put it in the middle and see if I like how dark it is, because I know that's going to get covered up. Oh, that is pretty fun. But I don't know. I don't know if I can keep it focused on just the dots. So I'm going to try it. If it meshes a little bit with the leaves, it won't be the end of the world. I don't think we'll see that one, but I'll color it anyway. And I really feel like I got away kind of lucky because even though I got a bunch of gooby stuff on my brush, oh yeah, that's pretty. It just adds a different level of color. Oh, yes, I was using a super light hand on my designer denim, Kim, which is super unusual for me. But yes, I was barely brushing over it. But I kind of think a little bit darker would be really pretty too, depending on how you color Snow White. I keep wanting to color Cinderella. Gosh, what a travesty. Okay, that's our panel. I love how it turned out. I'm so excited about that. And then it's going to look really good on the red, I think, right? Let's try it. Oh yeah, that's pretty. I like that. I like those colors together. Okay, that's great. We're going to set that aside. Let's see, we might as well color. And because she's the last thing that's going to go on the card, right? So if you don't want to color with me right now because you want to cut some of your paper pieces up, I'm going to move this into the frame to see if you can read it. So again, you need a red cardstock strip that's 6 inches long by 2 inches wide. The squirrel acorn paper would be 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 tall, or long, tall, and 2 1/4 wide. And you want to make sure that your squirrels are pointing up when you cut, right? And then there is a red piece of cardstock. I don't have this on the list. I'll have to add it. That's this guy, and that is, it's going to be just a, you know, a 1/4 inch bigger than your squirrel and acorn paper. So it'd be 3.5 by 2.5, and then you may cut it down just a little hair, right? Like just a 1/4 inch bigger, so you have a border. Our red striped paper is 3¼ inches squared. And, oh, thank you, Mary Pat. Yeah, I like that it just added a little bit of a difference. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I do. Thank you. And then red cardstock, and then the little square cardstock, which is 2 inches by 2¼ piece of white cardstock, which is 1¾ by 2. You need a red cardstock base. And I think that is the pieces, right? So I'm just going to leave that there if you want to be cutting paper, because you can catch up with coloring later, right? But it's fun to be able to put the card base together. So I'm just going to leave that there. Actually, I color this way, so I'm going to move it on this side so that my hand doesn't keep getting in the way of the instructions. Okay, and then this piece here, this 2 by 6, gets scored at 2 inches into the length and 2¼ inches into the length. So, okay, so those are the pieces. And let's color. Because she's Snow White and she has very, very fair skin, I'm going with a lighter skin color combo for her than I usually do, because I usually add like E04, E21, E11, sometimes E13. But she's very pale. So my darkest of my skin tones for her is going to be E11. So for my skin tones, I'm using E11, E000, E00, and E02 for the skin tone. So I think what I'm going to do before I color is quickly write over here our color combos so that we can have them. I'm going to do that real quick for you guys, and that also gives us a little chance to catch up. I don't think this will take us super long, but so skin, we're using E11, E00, E000, and E02. And then our dress, we're going to use, I got to flip this over for a sec here, the skirt. We're going to use Y13, Y21, Y23, and maybe Y31. We'll see if we need it, but I'm going to list it, right? What am I missing? Her top, dress top. Hope you can read my writing. Is a B. These are the B series. 21, 24, 26, 23. And her cape is an R37, and her bow. I couldn't read my own writing earlier. I couldn't figure out what that was. The apple, I'm using an R46. Oops. Hope you can read that. R46. The leaf, just pick like a yellowy green kind of color, or any green really. I pulled green G94, but I can't find where I set it down, so I'm using G99 and YG63. I just wanted it to be a little more muted green, but any green works, right? If you got a green, grab it. And then the hair, I have N5, N7, okay? So those are our colors that we're going to use. I'm going to put my cardstock sizes back on here. And we'll color. Okay, I'm going to start with her skin. Get my glasses on. Oh, thanks, Patty. I feel sad I've missed the other lives, but I will definitely go back, and because I got to see a peek at some of the projects, and I know I want to do them. So, right, I'm going to start with E11, and I'm just going to go ever so lightly around the hairline, and her ear, down here around her face. I'm going to come up around her hand a little bit because I'm just kind of envisioning that her hand is shading her face a little bit more, and around. So I'm not going super heavy because, again, Snow White is pale, right? She's Snow White. I'm going to do her face before I do her skin in sections because I don't want her face colors to dry out too fast and have a harsh line. So then I'm going to switch to EO0, 00, and I'm not going to go completely over the 11, but I am going to touch it so that it softens the line, but I want to still leave a little bit of the shading, right? So I'm going over that, filling in some more color. I'm going to do her ear completely because it's so little anyway, right? And I'm just kind of smoothing it out. I'm not dotting per se, but and then I'm going to quickly grab the E000 and I'm going to blend in. So I'm going over a little bit where the E00 is. And then I'm just kind of, if it looks like I have a little bit of a harsh line, I've just connected a little bit, right? And fill in the color, just smooth it out. So E000 is so drastically lighter than E11 that it leaves a bit of a shadow, right? So to smooth that out, I'm going to take my E00 again, and it's just by the nature of it, right? It's going to keep it a little bit more darker, and I'm just going to go over again, but this time I'm going all the way up into where the 11 is and smooth it out with the E00. And then I'm just going to let that be for a sec. Sec 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to take my E11 just so I don't have, again, I'm just smoothing so I don't have a drastic difference in there, right? Then we're going to work on the other parts of her skin. Same idea. I always work for skin, well, in general, lately I work dark to light, but for skin I start with the darkest. And you know, this is pretty shaded, her neck area, so got a little bit more there. I'm going to grab the E00. I'm going to go over it, but leave a tiny bit of white there. And then I'm going to grab the E000 and dot it in, just kind of swirl it in, smooth it out a little bit. Then we've got her hands to do. Down here, before I forget, we've got this tiny bit of her foot, so I'm just going to take the E00 and dot it in there. I'm not going to worry about adding a whole bunch of different shading because it's so small, right? Then for her arms, I'll start with this side here. So it's a little darker under her sleeve. It's a little darker in the crook of her elbow. And a little bit darker under here and here, under her hand, right? But not a lot. So I'm not completely outlining her arm. Oh, I do want to do this though, because it's the underside. But just do super light touch, super light hand. Then E0. Blend in. Not completely, because again, she's pale, right? Her fingers under the apple. We're not going to touch those with the lighter because it would just wash everything out. So we're just going to keep the E0 to there. Just blend till my 11 doesn't mix in, so you know, isn't so harsh. And then 000, just fill it in. Okay. And it lightens up as it sits, so it's okay. One more hand and arm, So again, darkest under the sleeve, down around her elbow, maybe here under her hand, really light on her fingers if you even want to. Sometimes I don't. Up just a little bit. And then I'm going to use my E11. Or sorry, E00. That was 11. So E00. Blending in. Catching those points. A little bit on the sides. Working in the color. Leaving it darkest. It's okay that it's darkest because she's definitely shadowed by her sleeve and her arm being up over here. And then filling in with E00. There we have our skin. And she's nice and pale. But I am going to give her some blush, and I use the E02 for the blush. And I don't want it to be super circular so much. I just want the pink in there. So I'm taking my E00, touching around the edges, and just letting it kind of blur out a little bit. There we go. Not sure how well you can see that, so I'm going to lift it up. And put her back down and work on something next. So I think I'm gonna save her hair for last because it should cover any of my boo-boos, right? For her head, let's do her top in the blues. And again, I grabbed the B series of 23, 24, 21, 23, 24, and 26. I may not use all of these. You know, sometimes 2 colors is completely sufficient. It's okay how you want it to look, but her sleeves are a little bit lighter than her bodice, right? So we'll start with the lighter, which is going to be the 23 and the 21. And, oh, thanks, Kim. And then we're going to, so I'm just going to color in with the B21, her sleeve. And if you don't have 2 complementing colors, the trick that I often tell people is you don't absolutely need to. What you can do, because Copic will layer on top of itself, right? So if you color it once and let it sit for a bit, and when I say a bit, I literally mean a bit, because the alcohol ink dries so fast. And it really kind of depends too on the type of paper you're using in terms of how fast it dries, how fast it soaks into the paper. I'm using Copic Express paper. Nina paper is also nice. I like the more smooth papers, but if you don't have an alternating color or you don't want it to be that drastic, then just let it sit and then put the same color on top of it again to just make it a little bit darker, and like not again all the way over, but again just in parts of it, right? So I'm going to grab my 23 and I'm just going to put a little bit of darkness up under here because her collar shadows it a little bit, and I'm going to pull it in just a little bit around the bottom. Just a touch by your arm. And then I'm going to grab my 21 again and just blend it in because I don't want it drastic, right? And I'm trying to keep it a little bit lighter. And then we're just going to let it set first and move on to the next one. And it will be lovely. It will be so lovely. And I think actually that blue is going to look great with the designer denim. I kind of wish now I had done the designer denim just a touch darker, which I still can. After I color, if I decide I want those leaves to be a little darker blue, because I went super light with the designer denim, I can bring it in again and get it a little closer to that. So You like your Nina paper? Yeah. I only use my Copic Express paper for coloring. I never use it for stenciling because it's expensive, and there's lots of papers that are great for stenciling. I only use it for coloring, and I bought a fairly good sized pack of it a while ago, and it has lasted me a really long time because I only use it for colored images. And then I use either hammer usually hammer for stenciling, or the Nina. And then the base is usually the heavier Nina. I'm really fussy about a good hard cardstock base. That's one of the things that I just kind of don't give on. Yeah, it will make the image pop. Thank you, Patty. You're right. Yep. It's one of, you just kind of, sometimes you can talk yourself into overdoing things, right? You just have to go, nope, let it be and see how it turns out. And I'm one of those like, oh, I should try this. I did it the first time this way, but now I'm going to mess around and see if it looks different. And sometimes I really am sad I did that because I really liked it the first time and I don't know why I messed around with it. So I'm just bringing in a little bit of the 23 again. And then going back over that pretty quickly with the 21. So I had started with B21, did a little bit of the darker 23. But again, if you don't have a 23 or another blue that's, a couple shades darker, just use your same blue again, and it will create a lovely, subtle variation in depth. So I'm doing that over here with the 21 again, because she's more shadowed. So there's her sleeve, and I like how that turned out. You found this, express it too thin. For coloring, yeah, it's funny because like if you have a heavy hand, see my skin tone came through, right? So almost always, and I'm not generally somebody who does layer after layer after layer of Copic colors. Sometimes I do, but generally it's kind of a one and done for me. I add my colors, and unless there's a reason I want it darker, I don't I don't do 3 layers of the same color generally. And in that case, it doesn't go through. But when I do that, it definitely does bleed through. So I've been careful. I have this clipboard that I color on because I can clip the paper and hold it at an angle and color. And there's lots of times underneath the paper, the color has soaked into my clipboard, but it's only for that purpose. So I really don't care. It works just great. All right, now we're going to do her bodice, and I'm going to start with my darkest, which is my B26. And I'm just going to, if you're uncomfortable with dark first, don't do dark first, because it's easier to make something darker than it is to make it lighter. So if you're not comfortable with dark first, color your whole piece in your lighter of your 2 blues first, and then bring in your dark. But I tend to I just tend to always start with my darks and then blend in. But do what you feel comfortable with. And there's that little tiny square up there. I'm being super careful around her arm. Let's see, I think I added another crease. Okay, then I'm going to come in with my B24. And I'm going to blend in. And you don't want to let it sit so long that you end up with a really harsh line, but if you do, you just wait, you do your lighter color, you wait a second or two, and then you go over it again with your lighter color to smooth out the harshness of the line, right? But I'm pretty happy with how that turned out, so I am not going to mess with it anymore. I like how that is. It works just great. I am going to color her shoes, and I think I'm just going to stick with the B24 for her shoes. I'm being risky because generally I would wait until I do my yellow, but hopefully I won't regret it. It won't blend. I won't end up with a blob of blue. I think it's fine. There we go. So she's got her blue shoes, her blue top, and then we're going to do her yellow skirt. How's everybody doing? Do you need me to pause for a sec? I am kind of a faster colorer. I'm gonna grab my yellows. Okay, so yellows. I've got a Y13, a 21, a 23, and a 31. YR31. I wrote that wrong. I apologize. Where's my pen? YR31. Cross that out. Okay. So I'm going to use the Y13 at the end to maybe just add a little bit of brightness, maybe. I'm going to start with in this case, I'm going to start with what I think is more my dullest yellow, if you will. Because again, I'm trying to be not so hit you in the face bright, more of a little bit of a vintagey feel, right? So I'm going to start with the 31, which is really light. And if I don't like it, I can go over it so easily with the 21, the Y21 or the Y23. So I'm starting with that one to see if I like it. And I'm just going to go over everything. And so far, I really like it. Like, it's definitely different a little bit than what I did before. I don't know if you can see that, but it's very subtle, which I like in terms of laying down some color. You might hear my dog snoring in the background. You know how, do you ever get in modes where you find yourself using similar colors like a lot? This is one of those colors that lately, and I can tell by my marker, it's starting to squeak a little bit. Whoops, I went outside the lines. And I cannot find my colorless blender to save my life right now. I have no idea what I've done with it. Anyway, it's this color I've been using a lot lately, it seems. I'm not worrying too much about my color being super smooth. I can see that I have some, like, you know, streaky looks in there, but that's okay because I know that I'm going to go over it again. In this case, I know I'm going to blend it in because I'm going to add some depth in the creases. So that was Y31. Maybe it's a little browner than I want, brown or yellow, but I kind of like it, but it's a little too dull compared to her top, right? So we are going to add a little bit more of the brighter yellow, and I'm going to start, I can never remember if it's so I'm going to test it on the side, which one of the yellows, the Y21 or the 23 is more orangey yellow. I think it is the Y21, which always surprises me. So I'm going to take my Y21. It is a buttercream color. I agree, Patty. I kind of like it. So this is the Y21. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to add just some depth, right? Some shading, some pleating. I am absolutely not great at pleating. I try to rely as much as possible on the artist lines to help me. I know that there are coloring classes you can take to learn that, and it's been my goal to do that for a while. I just, you know, just having the time to be able to color and create sometimes is a lot. And I do want to, you know, perfect my coloring, if you will, and grow. Like, that's always, when you start doing art, you want to grow and you want to try new things and you want to learn, but you also really just want to have fun. You don't want to make it so much about, or at least I don't, I'm speaking for myself. I don't want to make it so much about being perfect or better although I do want to learn those techniques because it is more pleasing when you feel more confident in what you're doing. I also just want to have fun with it. And I told a friend recently, she's like, you know, I just really don't care about all the shading of things. I just want to color. And I'm like, then just color and have fun with it. Like, use fun colors and have fun with it. It's you know, it's a reflection of what makes you happy. So you can see I'm just like kind of going over with this color, and it's just making it a little bit darker. And I've focused on all of the other parts. I'll hold her up for a sec here. You can kind of see what I've done there. So then I'm going to take the YR23, no, sorry, just Y23, and I'm going to go over where I put the depth of the 21. And it's definitely making it darker, but I'm really liking it. It's really bugging me that I went outside the line, but I can fix that with my white pen. Okay, so she's definitely getting darker. Ew, I kind of like that. And I don't want it to be too blocky, so I'm trying to kind of be careful about that, right? Thank you, Kim. And I'm going to take my YR31, put her somewhere. I'm going to go back over everything. And I'm going to come from the top down. I'm going to try to do long strokes so that I don't end up with big streakies. My marker is squeaking. It's giving me protests. Okay, there's that. And then as a last touch, and again, this is one of those times where I probably, yeah, see, I haven't even gone through that yet. This is one of those times where I am adding lots of layers of color. So this is my Y13, and it's going to be a pop of bright, but I'm going to use it very sparingly, right? So I'm just going to take it, and I'm just going to add it. Oh gosh, that's cool. Just right in the areas where, just to bring in a little bit, right? It's just layering over the top of it. Oh, I'm so excited with how that turned out. I really like that. Let me hold it up for you. And it'll, you know, adjust color-wise a little bit more. My light is really weird in this room. I know not to do it in this room when it's cloudy and overcast next time. So can you see that? It's very smooth and it's kind of almost vintagey. Thank you, Kim. Let's see. I had a thought. What was it? What was it? Oh, her hair. I'm going to do her headband up here. Yeah, I did it in yellow before. Yeah, I think I'll keep it yellow. I'm going to do it in the YR23, or sorry, Y23. Please ignore the idiot on the video that can't speak correctly today. Let's see here. So I'm just going to fill this in. And it's okay if it gets in her hair because I'm going to use, a black color for her hair. So I'm not being super careful. I'm just getting it on the headband. Okay, so there's that. Thank you, Mary Pat. Thank you, Sandra. I didn't see you pop in. Hello. I'm sorry if I missed anybody that's on the video. I apologize if I missed you. Okay, so let's do her hair next. No, do I want to do her hair next or her bow? Let's do her hair next. And I'm using N5 and N7. T's would work well. C's would work okay. I do like the T's, but the T's tend to blend much softer, and I don't want it to be too blended. So I'm gonna start with the N5. Hair, this dark hair always scares me. Always scares me. So I'm going to start with the N5, and I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to do some swooshing, but I'm going to leave some areas of white, right? And mostly I'm just trying to kind of figure out where, because I want it to read black, not gray. But I also, like, if it's just one big black blob, that's not helpful. So I'm just leaving some space for myself that I could go back over. Oh, yeah, thanks, Sandra. Well, I'm glad you weren't, like, waiting for me right at 1 o'clock when I was late. Well, it was 1 o'clock my time, 3 o'clock your time. See, this is the problem. I have a problem with time conversion. So I'm glad you weren't waiting for me and that you were able to catch up when you came in. So yeah, you don't want it just to be a black blob. So you're just leaving some spots of white that you can fill in with the N5 after the fact, right? And so just kind of mapping out. I know she's going to be completely darker underneath. And it looks a little weird right now because, again, we're just kind of playing around and we're leaving some white in there, right? So I'll hold her up so that you can see her. Looks kind of sketch, right? But that's okay. We're going to fill it in. N7. I'm going to grab that. And now I see my lines, and I know I want things to be darkest at the tip. So I'm gonna go under here because I know it's darkest under there and around the ribbon, if you will. Darkest at the bottom, a little bit in. See that? So I know it's going to be darkest around the bow, so I'm just going to kind of dot it in there. Ever so light-handedly, right? Just, and there's a little piece over here that I know is, I have to turn my paper, sorry, let me turn this for a sec. And that's another tip, like when you're coloring, is color, like move your paper so that you are coloring in the direction that feels most natural and comfortable for you. Okay, Mary Pat, sounds great. So then I'm gonna take, let me see, I gotta think about where I'm at here. So up here, also, I'm gonna dot in the darkest. There's our snorer, she's snoring away. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start bringing in some of the dark over here because I've already got a little of it in there, right? And I'm going to want it to be darker. Okay, I'll hold that up for you. Let's see, then I'm going to come down under here. There's really no rhyme or reason at this point in time. I apologize. I'm not a coloring teacher. I'm just showing you what I do. I know that it's darkest or underneath and around her ears, but I don't want it to be so solid. So I'm just kind of bringing in, I'm leaving a little room for myself to bring in some of the other in colors. Okay. Now I'm going to come under here, but I'm going to rotate my paper a little bit. I know that she's very dark around her ear, a little bit around her face. All right, let's see how we did. I don't want to get too crazy. I am going to put just a little bit here and there. because of the bow. But I don't want to get too crazy on the dark, right? Looks like I could probably put a touch over here and swoosh it in a little. Okay, I'm gonna let that be, right? I've done a lot. You can always add more. And a trick, like when you're coloring hair, and a small section of hair and dark colors, is to, after the fact, if you want to add a little bit more dark, you can use like a micro liner. You can use a black colored pencil. You can even use a white colored pencil to add some highlights if you want. But I often will blend in colored pencils with my copics so that I don't end up with too much of a blob, right? So that there's some light reading through there still. And I'm pretty happy with how that looks. I do see one spot where I kind of want to, it's like I have a weird disconnect over here. So I'm going to use my micro liner and I'm just going to pull it in just a little bit, because I know that if I grab my copic, it's going to come in too dark. And I'm just filling it in a little bit so I don't have like a weird funky curl kind of thing happening, right? So there we go. Let me show you that. I think that turned out pretty well. Yay, I'm excited about that. Okay, now we can color our reds. Put my gray away. Gray. Actually, let's do the leaf on the green leaf real quick. I don't know if I want to do YG63 or a G99, since I can't find my 94. Oh, 99 is really dark. I don't like that. So I'm going to use the YG63. G99 is really dark. I'm going to just erase that. A YG17 would be pretty too, or a YG63 actually would be better. Sorry, 67 would be better if you want a darker green. The YG17 is a pretty bold green. Went outside the lines again, darn it. So this is tiny. I don't need to do more than one swoosh of color. Looks like I did forget to list a brown for the stem. So just any brown that you can get your hands on. I have a 37 handy here, so I will add that to the list. And let's just get that colored in real quick. Are you, those of you who are with me, I'm just going to kind of shuffle this off to the side. I think you'll still be able to see it, maybe not read it so well, but I just want to move it out of the way for a sec. Okay, now we're going to do her bow and her cape, which I did it in a 37 because it's kind of a, it's not a bright red. It matches well with our papers. So I'm going to do R37. It's a pretty small section, so I'm not planning on adding a bunch. I'm definitely not grabbing a second darker marker, but if I want to add depth, I'm going to use the same marker and just go over a spot or two to fill it in. So there's her cape, and then her bow. Just going to let that be for a sec or two. It doesn't take long. Again, it depends on how fast your paper soaks up or your colors. If you don't wait a sec and you go over it, it doesn't really give you a definition. It just gives more saturation, if you will. And I had somebody ask me recently, well, I don't know what I'm doing wrong when I color because my paper pills. What am I doing wrong? And I said, well, for one thing, you might be using a paper that's a heavier, it's less smooth, let's put it that way. And or you might just be going over the color too quick, and it's just like, you know, like this is how I watercolor. I don't wait, I'm not patient, and I immediately dump more water on it, and it starts to kind of make the paper not work very well, right? So I'm just adding my second little bits of that. I'm just focusing on the middle of the bow, and I'm done. I'm not going to touch it again. Okay, so the apple. The apple is an R46 for me. You can make it like same color as your cape and your bow too, right? Like, or you can make it a little less colored, like a gala apple or something. But I'm going to do an R46, and I'm going to color everything but this area first. So I'm going to go over it the first time. Being real careful when I get down toward her hand. And I'm just going to wait a second. And, oh, I need to color in her spots on her dress, her openings in her sleeves. So let's do that. Just barely touch them. They're little. You could use a colored pencil if you're nervous about the copic marker. Could even done yellow. Yellow might have been cute, but I did red. Okay, only one dot. That's all we need because it's very, very small. Find the right end of my marker. And I'm going to go over it again, everything else again. And this time I'm going to touch the apple, the white. I'm leaving this part purposely not touching it again so that it looks like it's got a little extra light on it, right? And I'm going over that part there. Cool. Ta-da! I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm going to grab my white pen for a second. Oops. Maybe. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to just fix up my boo-boo before. Okay, so we're going to need to cut her out in a rectangle shape so that she can go on the front part. So remember, here's our flappy part, right? Here's our flappy part, and this one piece gets the squirrel paper on one side and Snow White on the other side. So we're going to cut her to the same size that we cut this paper. And I'm going to make sure that I'm not too tall because I want it to fit, and it's okay, right? So we're good there. So I'm going to cut her same size as this, exactly. And this, again, is 2.5 for me. I think I gave you 2 and... red cardstock, 2 by 2 1/4 by 3 1/4, so it could be 2.5 by 3 1/2 or 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. Mine's not quite 3 1/4, but so I'm going to cut her in that same size, and I'll be right back. I'm not going to do it on camera. I'll be right back. We'll get her cut out. So. Okay, I'm back. So I've cut that down into the rectangle, same size as my squirrel paper. Then before I forget to do it, I'm going to use my corner rounder to corner the round the edges of everything. So I'm going to do that real quick. I just love this squirrel paper so much with the acorns. I love the colors. I love the design of it. It's just so cute. I really wanted all the paper, so they're just the coolest. Kim has the best way of finding the coolest stuff for us, which is sometimes I'm like, dang you, Kim, and other times, most of the time, I'm like, woohoo, because I would never find it on my own, and I love how she's so good at coordinating everything, right? She's so good at that. All right, did I cut that weird? No, we're okay. So I'm just, again, rounding my corners. Okay, my paper cutter is misbehaving lately. I'll have to fix my edges. All right, so there's that. And then I have my red piece too, so. Okay. This, I have had this corner rounder for 110 years, I swear to goodness. It's been such a great tool. Oh, I say as it decides to suddenly give me a problem. Okay, so she's gonna go on top of there, and this is going to go on the other side. Okay. So I'm going to grab some, I'm just going to set this aside until we're ready for that, because we need to do another thing with our paper. It looks like it's really going to rain out there. Okay, I have to remember now what I'm doing. So we need to take, you're going to cut, okay. You're gonna cut it, you need like an X-Acto knife, okay? Here's my sample, and you're going to cut about 1/3 of the way in of your red paper. You're gonna cut a line, just a little bit bigger than your 2-inch wide strip, because that piece needs to fit through there, right? So I'm gonna grab my tool. Okay, here's my tool. So we're gonna come in about 1/3 of the way. So if this is 3.75, oh, what did I do with my ruler? Don't know what I did with my ruler. Weird. What did I do with it? I only got this guy. So, yeah, so about, I'm going to come into about here, right? On this one. So I'm going to come in a couple of stripes, and I'm going to cut it to about a little bit bigger than my paper. So I'm going to put my paper over here so I have an idea of what I'm doing. And I'm just gonna cut it a little bit bigger than that. And it doesn't have to be, 100% straight. Let's see, how did I do? I gotta make sure, so I'm gonna need to go a little bit longer. You don't want it to be too sloppy, right? There we go. So it's just barely over my piece. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take this where you've scored it, and you're going to fold it once. Hold on, I gotta stop and think, how does this work? Yeah, fold it once and crease it. Need my bone folder. Just kind of watch me for a sec without doing it in case I make an error, okay? Because I don't want you to do it wrong and be disappointed. So I think I'm folding this right, but just give me a sec here. So we're folding it there, and then I'm doing another fold here. So I'm scoring those two areas, right? So we've folded in once and twice. And then we're gonna take, I gotta get some glue. I don't have glue. So I find that glue tape works, or adhesive tape with interactive cards works best because it holds a little better, I think. So I'm going to place on the inside of this piece here, I'm going to place a piece of adhesive tape. Let me get this out of the way for a sec because I don't want to be off screen on you. Oh, shoot. Sorry, Mary Pat. Okay, so let's get that. I'm just putting it on the very edge. I cut it a little too big, so I'm going to fix that real quick. There we go. Get that on there. Okay, that's one step that we're doing. Okay, and then this piece here is going to glue to our cardstock. So we're going to need a, sorry, I'm off screen again. So I've done this piece here on the inside, just a strip. And then we need to put a skinny little strip right here as well. And this might be a little too wide. Let's see. We'll see if this works. Okay, let's see here. Okay. All right, so there's that. I think so far so good, but again, just kind of let's make sure we're okay. And then we're going to take this piece that we've cut the little panel, the strip in, right? We're going to slide our 2 by 6 inch piece through that. We're going to make sure it moves nicely, which it does. We're good. We're golden. Okay. And then we're going to set that aside for just a second because we want to get our panel on our base, our base together. Let's get our base together. So grab your glue or your glue tape. We're going to put that on our base. I prefer liquid glue when it comes to stuff like this because I can wiggle it if I need to, right? Tape sticks too fast for me, and sometimes I get it crooked, and although everybody says it's handmade, there's certain degrees of crooked that I can and cannot live with. So let's just be honest, shall we? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this on my base. We don't have a big edge on there, just enough that we see the red. I can feel this sticky from my stencil still on there from that glue that was on there. Okay, there's that piece. Now this piece here that we put the slider in is going to go on the top of this. And we want when we lay this down, we want this piece here to come right along the edge of your card, right? So keep that in mind where you want that to be. And we're going to put some glue on the back side of this, but we're only going to go around the edges, right? So see, there's part of that. There's part of that other really pretty paper. I just hated to cut this paper. I hate when you have paper so pretty you don't want to cut it. All right, so we're just going to get some glue in there. Want to make sure you don't have your glue touch. Get it close because you need a good strong bond, right? But don't have it touch your slider, your red cardstock. And tape might be actually a better idea, but it shouldn't matter at this point because it's just the piece that's moving. Construction's your favorite part? It's my scariest part, Mary Pat. It scares me. It terrifies me. And especially live, like I'm always worried I'm going to screw it up and somebody's going to, you know, have gone ahead and followed me when I made my stupid mistake. So before I put it down again, I'm going to make sure that my red piece is all the way to the edge of my cardstock, and it's kind of, you know, where I want it. Again, the glue helps me shift it just a little bit up or down so that I get about the same even piece of things. And I make sure that this moves, and it does, so we're good there. And I then press it down. Phew! And then I take a big breath. Oh, I made it. We did it. Okay? So now what we're going to do, I got to look at my little sample here. So now what we do is we remember, oh gosh, I'm worried about this. Okay, watch me. Don't do this until you watch me, because if I screw it up, I'll have to rip it apart. But I think I glue it down, and then when I pull this, yeah, that works. Okay, so make sure again, this piece is lined up with your cardstock base. And then we're going to peel the tape off of this inside piece. Ah, it's not wanting to come off. Come on, there we go. Okay. So we're going to peel that off, and we're going to hold that in place. We want to make sure that our slider is at the edge so we have a little bit of room to grab onto something, right? Then we're just going to take the furthest fold, and we're going to bring it over, and we're going to put it down. And then I'm going to close my eyes and say a quick prayer. Woohoo! And I'm going to try it and make sure it works. And it does. It's just very subtle, but it works, I think. Oh gosh, please work. It works. Okay, yay. All right, now is our next piece, right? So now we can put, and maybe we should put a little grounding under Snow White here, just to, like, so she doesn't look like she's floating, right? So I'll grab my YG63 and give her a little bit of grass, like she can be standing on some grass. Now she doesn't look like she's floating. And then we're going to attach her to the flippy flappy on the front part. Okay. So what did I do with I'm probably looking right at it. I'm going to use the tape. I'm not using the tape. I'm afraid I'm going to stick her down and not like where she is. So I'm going to use my glue. Make sure I'm back up in frame. Sorry. I had to move my phone down so far because I forgot to zoom it in. So I had to move my holder down so far that I don't have a lot of room to back up, and usually I can do that and not be off frame for you guys. So, all right, so we're gonna get her on this matting piece. Whoops, yeah, see, this is why I use glue. Adhesive, or liquid glue. Okay, so she's on there, that's good. We got her on there. I'll clean up my edges. And then we're gonna put the squirrel piece on the back side. But before I do that, I wanna make sure that it's gonna fit on there and we can flip it over. So it'll cover a little bit of the squirrel, but it'll be okay. So we're gonna get the squirrel piece on there. This is a pretty piece too. So if you like the leaves versus of course it doesn't go with our blue color scheme, right? But initially when I made my first card and used the greens, I was messing around with the idea that maybe I could add the leaves somehow on my card, and it just didn't work. Okay, so before you put this down, make sure that you're putting it the same direction as Snow White, because I've made that mistake. So Snow White is up, flip her over, flip down your other piece. And I'm going to go a little closer to the edge on this second piece because I just want to make sure I've got room to glue it down. Okay. Okay, so next. Oh, we need to corner, I need to round these pieces, so I'm going to do that quick. This is my sentiment on the inside. Okay, there's that, and this piece as well. This is my 2 by 2 1/4 piece. Got it. Yay. Okay. We're going to need to stamp a sentiment on here. So I chose You're the Fairest of All. You could do any. You could do Golly What a Day. You could do You're Just Right. But I chose You're the Fairest of Them All. And let's see. I'm not going to grab my Misty. I'm going to try to be brave and just stamp it directly on there with a foam pad and a clear stamp. We'll see. Hopefully it's going to work. If it doesn't, I just cut another piece of paper because I don't want to drag out my Misty. Okay, so there's that. And I'm just going to ink this up. Okay. Yay, I did it. Okay. Woohoo! That makes me feel better. Okay. I've gotten so used to stamping with my Misty that I'm scared to stamp without it. You just don't know what you're going to do. Okay, there's that. That's done. We're going to put this on. Oh, fart. But you know what I did is I cut it. I'm just going to trim this down. I stamped the wrong way because I want my flippy flap. Well, it would be okay. We could do it that way, but it's not as cute, I don't think. I'll do it that way, but it should have done it up and down so it matches. Yeah, it's okay. I'm going to leave it. I'm going with it. It'll still work. So I'm going to put that on there. Hopefully, you can see I reused a piece of paper that I messed around with. That's the charming chartreuse, by the way. So I'm going to go this route, but it should have been the up and down way. It's going to be a little different. My first card, see, it's this orientation. This one, it's going to be the other way, but as long as it doesn't extend beyond here, it's good, and it shouldn't, so we're fine. All right, so move that out of the way, get this out of the way. Okay, now, hold your breath. Here we go. We're going to, I really love the blue better than the green on this one. They're going to be very different. So this is going to end up, I'm going to use this here. This is going to end up lining up right, just a little, not right up against the crease, but very, very close to it. So just kind of watch there, and we're going to just put some glue on this part so that it sticks. It's not going to move. This piece doesn't need to be taped. So I'm just using my liquid glue. You could use either. And again, whoopsie, make sure you're lined up over here. Don't completely cover your crease, but it is the same width as your panel. In my case, it's the same because I did the wrong orientation, but if you flip it, you just need a little bit of glue to cover that, right? And then let's make sure that that still folds in, and it does, so we're good there. Okay, and then we're going to push that back. And now comes the last piece, which is making me super nervous for some crazy reason. And we're just gonna, can't really tell, how far in did I go? I did go to the edge. Okay, so I'm gonna take this, right? And I'm gonna lay it on here. Just gonna make sure I have it where I want it on the panel when I put it down, and the edge of this is gonna go pretty much, not completely, but close to the edge of this because you want it to be able to bend. So here we go. Here we go, here we go. Quit that, you. There we go, okay. All right, here we go. I'm nervous, I'm so nervous. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna look about where I want it first and foremost on the card. I wanna get it kind of lined up and down vertically, right? And then, so I'm pretty much where I wanna be. I've got it flattened here. I'm gonna line her up. I'm not gonna press super hard in case I got it too, if you get it too close, it won't fold in. Oh, we did it, okay. Yay, it worked. And then I'm gonna press hard because I want that glue, that tape to work on there, okay? And then we're gonna just move it a few times. We want it to get used to the idea that we want it to move. Cool, it's working. I'm super excited about that. I know, it so is, Sandra. It's completely nerve-wracking. Okay, so the last couple of touches that we can do, so I just stapled, I pulled this out a ways and folded over a little strip of ribbon, which I don't have with me at the moment, and I changed my color scheme. So you can do that if you like. You can put a little pull tab in here maybe, like, you know, pull it out far enough that you can put a little notch in there so that it just has something, or you can attach something to it, right? If you want it to, if you don't, it makes it more obvious for the person you give it to that it's something to pull to, right? If you have something on the end of it there. So you could just staple one little piece and pull it like I did. That's an option, right? Thanks, Mary Pat. I'm glad you did. I was very nervous. And then we could, so I did have a piece of white cardstock to put on the inside, and what we could do there is you could add a little definition by taking your stencil panel and just adding in the corners some of the pretty flowers. I'm not going to do this live because we're so far into this, but I just want to, I'm going to do it after the fact. I'm just going to take my stencil and I'm going to add just a little bit up on this corner and this corner, and then there's space for writing inside, right? And then on the side here, what I had done was I chose Whistle While You Work, which you can do. I don't mind cutting my stamps in pieces so that I can do, you know, something different with them. If you're nervous about that, just stamp it once in a long row and cut it into pieces like I did. Or maybe you want to put it on another strip over here sideways or something. Like, there's so many options, right? Like, you can make it yours, right? So I'm just gonna stick with what I did before. I'm gonna grab my, actually I do think I'm gonna cut this in 2 pieces this time. Don't cry, I'm gonna do it. Okay, so I've cut this into 2 pieces just because I'm going to do it a little differently. Can't ever do anything the same. Somewhere on my desk I have a little strip of white. So I'm just going to take my stamp block and I'm going to hope that this works again. And ink it up. Where did I put my ink? There we go. There's Whistle While. You work. There we go. So then I'm going to cut that into 2 pieces. I got to get the ink off my fingers first before I plunk it onto something else. All right. Scissors. I need scissors. And so I have a little piece of red cardstock here. I'll cut that down. I'm going to step over to the side and trim that down a little bit. I'll be back. Okay, so I cut that down a little bit, so I have a matting piece, and then I'm just gonna stick that on there and trim it off with my scissors. And so again, here's my original. If you want to do it that way, if you want to do it some other way, please do it how it feels best to you. I'm just like flying by the seat of my pants, like Kimmie says, right? So there's one. I'm gonna do that. Then I'm going to do this one, trim that down a little bit. And put that on there and trim it down. Just trimming it down. Okay, I don't usually freehand stuff like that, so I'm surprising myself today. And then I'm going to glue those pieces together. Oh gosh, I really need to change the blade on my trimmer, my paper trimmer. Okay, so whistle wow. My dog. She is really in heaven. She is snoring, snoring, snoring. Right, then I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to do whistle wow you work, and I think I might bring it down a little bit just to create a little, there, how's that look? Look okay? I think I'm going to go for it. I'm going for it. Oh, thank you, Wanda. Thank you so much. And you know, this design, of course, if you don't have this stamp set, I'm sorry, because I love this stamp set. I'm sorry for you. But this design will work with so many of the Kimmie images and the flap. And of course, any of the stencils in terms of the stencil background, but I'm kind of really in love. You know, I told you earlier that I kind of am fickle with my favorites every so often. And right now I'm really in love with the, really in love with this stencil. Love this stencil so much. I do kind of wish I had done this a little bluer, but it's okay. I'm okay with that. So if you did a little heavier hand, I bet you might like it also. So there's that. We can put a piece of ribbon on there. There's our flippy flappy. And then we will have the inside where we will have the stencil. We could just quickly throw this on there real fast. Like, why not? We're already... Like, why not? Because it'll bug me if I don't finish it. So I'm just going to do this quick. I'm going to throw it on there. Where's my yellow brush? I am not going to add ink to it. I want it to be real subtle. I'm going to go down here. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? And then for my leaves... The problem is I don't know where I went. May not be able to line it up quite as smoothly with the leaves. I don't know what I did. How did I do that? Let me find it here. There we go. So if I find, oh, because I tipped it. There we go. So I just need to tip it a little bit. There we got it. Okay. There, that works. And then I'll just add a little of the blue. And a little bit down here. There we go. Just very subtle, very light. I like that a lot. We'll be able to stamp a sentiment, or not even, don't even need to do that. We can just put a message. We can write a message. We can sign our name. If we want to add another of the adorable stamps from the stamp set, we could put Robin Hood down here on the inside, real subtle, like in gray, which would be super, super cute. You could do that. You could just do so many things, right? You could do You're Just Right down here in the corner. So many things, but I'm just going to quickly glue it on there. Thank you, Miss Kim. Just going to get that on there. I do think, I don't know, I kind of am tempted to stamp Robin Hood on there, but I'm not going to. Got a glue booger stuck underneath there. Come on, get off there. There we go. There we go. That's nice. I like it. All right, ladies and gents, if there's gents watching, whistle while you work. If you have, you could put a couple of flatter, you don't want to go too tall, but enamel dots on there too, which would be super cute, or sequins. Dress it up a little bit. Add your ribbon, do your flippy flappy. We have Snow White, we have You're the Fairest of All, and we have our pretty stenciling on the inside. So we did it. Thank you so much for being patient and waiting for me. Again, I apologize profusely for being late. Please let me know if you have any questions. I will type up some official helpful sizes, hints, etc. to go along with the video so that you can recreate this or can do it later. I'll put that out there. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Mary Pat. Thank you, Wanda. Thank you, Kim, for this beautiful stamp set and papers. And I'm going to take off, and I thank you so very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your weekend. Love you. Bye.